As everyone can see, the subnet mask is a powerful tool for network engineers out there and network architects to divide a network into the specific number of networks and hosts that you can use. Now, there are limitations on what you can do. I mean, it is based on a base 2 numbering system, so there are certain numbers that you may not be able to come up with. But if you were working on a job and your boss said, listen, we have a /24 subnet that we set aside, and we need to divide that up into 5 different networks, and we're going to host 5 sections of the company on there, maybe sales, HR, marketing, and just regular users, employees. So they have 2 networks for employees, and then you have the other 3 used for sales, marketing, and HR. And they might ask you to do that for them. So you could get you a spreadsheet out and take the subnet, the /24 subnet, subdivide it, and then show them what the IP addresses would be, what the network numbers would be, and what the broadcast numbers would be. That would be a good exercise for people to practice on. I also have some links here for you today, which is first link is for a subnet calculator. So you could go to this link and actually bring up a subnet calculator, which would help you with these calculations. Of course, we know right now binary and going through that task is tedious. So the subnet calculator is an easy thing, which a lot of people use, and some people even question why they need to learn binary and subnetting when you have a calculator to do that for you. But it's always good to know. Classless interdomain routing. There is a link to a document page that gives you a little bit more about how that looks and what the subnets are like, and some more explanation on uses for it, better ways to use classless interdomain routing with your subnet mask. And then I threw in a Power of 2 Wikipedia page. It's for us who like math. People who like math will enjoy this page. It just gives you an enormous amount of information on the Power of 2. We were talking about subnetting IP addresses. We have classless interdomain routing. Cidr is the abbreviation for that. That is what we use to subdivide our larger networks into smaller groups of IP addresses so that we can better manage the IP addresses on our network, or for other reasons we may need smaller groups of IP addresses. So we're at work now, and we've gotten a request from our manager of the IT department. He has asked the networking team to provide a subnet scheme for a client. His IT director has directed us to provide network addresses for a client that will be moving into a new building location. The client said they have 5 departments and would like to separate each of them on the network. He asked us to produce a spreadsheet that he can present to the client. And in addition to that, he gave us some more information, which we see here, that the sales, marketing, and HR have 20 employees each. And the office staff has 100 employees divided into 2 groups. And they have 1/24 subnet for this new location. So that is what we were presented with. So what we have to do is divide the /24 into the 5 subnets that this client can use on their network, and they want each of them divided into separate groups. Now once we come up with an IP address scheme, we can go into our routers and our switches and put these 5 departments into separate VLANs, or virtual local area networks, so they will not be able to communicate with each other without going through a router. So this can divide them up into different groups, and companies and clients ask you to divide their network up for various reasons, but for us the most important thing is what they want and not why they want it. So with that in mind, this is what we came up with, the spreadsheet that we came up with for our IT director. As you can see, is a /24 subnet. The subnet address, or the subnet, is 10.10.10.0/24. And we're going to subdivide that into 5 networks. So what we come up with is what you see here in this spreadsheet. So for the sales department, we have a 10.10.10.0/27 subnet. Now we have a host range of 10.10.10.1 through 10.10.10.30. And we have a broadcast address of 10.10.10.31. And our subnet mask, you see, is 255.255.255.24. Now this address range will give us 30 host address, which will cover the sales department because we were told that they have 20 employees. If the sales department grows by 2 or 3 employees, we can add those IP addresses into this group without having to change anything in the subnet. And the same thing goes for the marketing department. And as you can see, their subnet address is 10.10.10.32/27. And their host address range is 10.10.10.33 through 10.10.10.62. And their broadcast address is 10.10.10.63/27. And of course, the subnet mask is the same. Now, when we talk about broadcast address and network addresses, those two addresses are addresses that you will not be able to use to assign to a computer or a server or some kind of host on the network, because those addresses are used by the network itself to maintain and communicate with everyone on that subnet. So there are 2 of those addresses that you will not be able to use for your hosts. So that address with 30 hosts will cover what the marketing department employees have requested, which the client has requested that 20 addresses for marketing, and we gave him 30, so there's room for expansion. And we've done the same thing in the HR department. As you can see, their network address is 10.10.10.64, and their host range is 65 through 94. And then we have the broadcast address of 10.10.10.95, and their subnet mask is the same as the previous 2 subnets. Now, when we come to sales, he said sales had 100 employees divided into 2 groups. So now we have to come up with something a little bit different. For the office staff, I'm sorry, not sales, office staff have 100 employees divided into 2 groups. Now, we came up with 10.10.10.96/26. Now you notice the slash or the subnet mask is different. It is a 26 instead of a 27. Now what happens here is we get actually 60 addresses when we use the /26. So their subnet host range is, their host addresses are 10.10.10.97 through 10.10.10.158. Okay, and they have a broadcast address of 10.10.10.159. And their subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. And they're divided into 2 groups, so we came up with another group for the office staff, which has a subnet of 10.10.10.160/26 with address range of 161 through 222. And they have a broadcast IP address of 10.10.10.123. And the subnet mask is the same, 255.255.255.192. And on top of that, we have additional addresses left for that client to use in another subnet, which I've classified as a spare subnet right here. And that address range, or that subnet IP address is 10.10.10.224, and it only provides us with 30 addresses. And this is /27. and the address range is 10.10.10.255 through 10.10.10.254 with a broadcast address of 10.10.10.255. Okay, so now we've accomplished dividing the network address that we were provided into the 5 separate groups that the client requested. Now, in addition to that, with each subnet, we will use one address for our gateway, which I already have mentioned. In the sales department, the gateway address will be 10.10.10.1. And you can use another address, but most network engineers either use the first IP address or the last IP address for the gateway. That way you can assign your host addresses that are in sequence. So, you don't want your gateway address to be 10.10.10.21, and then you have to skip over that address for your host because that's your gateway. So it's just easier to use either the first IP address or the last IP address. You can subnet any network down to a /30 subnet that allows only 2 hosts. /30 subnet is usually classified as a point-to-point network because there's only 2 hosts on that particular subnet. So that just gives you a sense of what you're able to do with subnetting. So you can have hosts like we have here with 60 hosts on the network, 30 hosts on the network, 16 hosts or 14 hosts on the network, and all the way down to just 2 hosts on the network. Now, I would recommend, if you're ever, when you're working in the network engineering field and you're in the office and you got the equipment and you're working on it, I would recommend that you complete your spreadsheet first and determine your gateways and any excluded DHCP addresses before you start to configure your equipment, because that just makes it easier to have everything written out and documented first, and then you can go in and do your configuration. If anything comes up that you may have put in wrong, you can go back to your documentation and make corrections. So I just wanted to give you a look at what it's like to go in and subnet a network for a client. Thank you for viewing, and have a good day.